Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're unpacking a really profound yet highly practical framework for living a good life. And honestly, the most fascinating part? It was left behind by the most powerful man on earth at the time. We're going to explore the core tenets of Stoic philosophy, specifically through the personal writings of the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius.
Just imagine writing these exact words, but not from a cozy modern study, right? Picture a cold, brutal war camp near the Danube River 2,000 years ago. Marcus Aurelius was actually writing this stuff while actively carrying the literal crushing weight of ruling the entire Roman Empire.
Section 1. The Unlikely Stoic Emperor. It's such a fascinating paradox. We have a man with absolute power, a position that usually breeds corruption and tyranny, yet he privately journaled about humility, patience, and the common good.
So you think you have a stressful life? Well, consider his. During his reign, Marcus survived a devastating plague brought back by his own legions. He dealt with widespread famine, he faced sudden treason from his top eastern commander, Avidius Cassius, and on top of all that, fought endless, grueling frontier wars against invading barbarian tribes. I mean, his life was absolute chaos.
Yet, through all of this trauma, he wrote what we now call the Meditations. But here's the real kicker: he wasn't posing for an audience. He definitely wasn't writing a self-help book to publish for a quick profit. This was literally just a private diary. He was actively using philosophy just to keep his own ego in check and to try and find some mental tranquility amidst all that immense external chaos.
Section 2. The Stoic Operating System. Because this isn't just a collection of nice inspirational quotes, it's actually a complete operating system for the human mind. The crucial point here is that this wasn't just random, disjointed advice. It was a rigorous, three-part system designed specifically to help a person live in conformity with nature. To a Stoic, you had to understand how the universe worked, and that's physics. Then, you had to train your mind to test your perceptions, which is logic. And finally, you had to apply all of that to how you actually treat others, which is ethics.
Now, right off the bat, we really need to strip away that modern stereotype of the emotionless, robotic Stoic. The Stoic ideal of apatheia doesn't mean you just don't feel anything. Actually, Marcus was a deeply tender-hearted man. He loved his children and grieved their early deaths. But he trained himself to master those passions, ensuring he was never ruled by sudden anger, panic, or despair.
Moving on to Section 3. Guarding your inner citadel. This brings us to a core tenet drawn from Stoic logic, which is the absolute control of the mind. So how exactly do you master those passions when the world is literally burning down around you? Well, it all comes down to the linchpin of the whole philosophy, the dichotomy of control. Think about it. We spend so much of our lives agonizing over external events, right? Our health, our bank accounts, what other people think of us. But Stoicism teaches that these things are ultimately out of our control. The only thing we completely control is our internal opinion of those events.
Marcus frequently used this really vivid metaphorical imagery of the mind as an impregnable citadel, or sometimes a perfect sphere, completely sufficient unto itself. His idea was that if your mind is free from violent passions and false opinions, nothing external can truly penetrate it. You are safe.
So let's apply this. When you face difficult people in your daily life, maybe a toxic coworker, an ungrateful friend, or someone who outright betrays you, you might naturally be tempted to react with anger. But Marcus had a very different approach, one rooted entirely in keeping that inner citadel completely secure. He had this absolute drop-the-mic insight. The best kind of revenge is not to become like unto them. I mean, really think about that. When someone wrongs you, getting furiously angry just drags you right down to their level. Marcus actively forgave people who literally tried to usurp his throne, simply because he knew holding on to hatred would only corrupt his own character.
Section 4. Embracing the universal plan. Next, we examine the realm of Stoic physics. This is all about accepting nature and viewing the universe as a rational, interconnected whole directed by divine providence.
It's fascinating how Marcus actively visualized the fleeting nature of life. He constantly reminded himself of the vast, infinite chaos of time stretching backward and forward. In that grand cosmic scheme, human life is just this brief little spark before we become dispersed atoms once again. He used this massive perspective to remind himself that fame, public applause, and worldly legacy are, well, entirely worthless.
Because life is so short and the universe is so vast, Marcus believed that every single event, no matter how harsh, painful, or seemingly unfair, flows from a divine plan. It's all necessary for the preservation of the whole.
Essentially, to fight against reality is to just make yourself miserable, but to accept it willingly, that is how you find true peace.
Section 5. Duty to the hive. Finally, we reach Stoic ethics, which is where the philosophy turns outward. This dictates our duty to our fellow human beings, who all share in that same universal reason.
Marcus viewed humanity as one massive, interconnected body. He said we are built to work together like upper and lower teeth. And, you don't get mad at your own lower jaw, right? Therefore, we have to patiently tolerate and actively help each other despite the frustrating flaws, the ignorance, or even the malice of our neighbors. A true Stoic acts purely for the common good.
It's amazing that through this incredibly structured philosophy, a man completely surrounded by brutal warfare, a horrifying plague, and deep personal betrayal managed to remain profoundly gentle. He kept himself unspotted by pleasure and entirely undaunted by pain. He lived purely for his duty, just waiting patiently for his time to depart. I want to leave you with a final, kind of provocative thought here. If the Emperor of Rome could tame his ego and maintain his composure under that kind of immense pressure, what's our excuse for letting today's minor inconveniences steal our inner peace? I really hope this explainer leaves you questioning how you guard your own inner citadel, and maybe inspires you to bring just a little more Stoic calm into your everyday life. Thanks for joining me, and keep learning.